Tyranny always comes in the name of compassion and equality of outcomes. When I was at Columbia, they are brainwashing my classmates saying education should be free. Healthcare is a human right. How unfair is it that there are billionaires and there are homeless people? It should be we are all equal. This same idea began the living hell of North Korea. When Kim Il-sung came to my grandmother's and my grandfather, he said these two exact things to us. How unfair is that they are landowners, they are capitalists. And how unfair is that your children cannot be educated, you need to pay for it. If you give me the power, Kim Il-sung said, I'm going to make everything free. Government was gonna provide everything for us. If we just gave up our private property, our freedom of speech, our freedom of movement.
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
Was first made a few years ago. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tried to knock it down by calling it absurd. Then when the media turned up a wedding certificate, Omar went silent, refusing to make any comments at all, saying she does not talk about her family or personal life. Well, now others are talking, like Abdul Hakim Osman, a prominent member of the Minneapolis Somali community, who is now on the record telling the Daily Mail that in 2009, Ilhan Omar married her biological brother Ahmed Saeed Almi so that he could legally remain in the U.S. and attend college. At the time, Omar was married to Ahmed Hersey, but it was a religious marriage, meaning there was no Minnesota state record stating that she and Hersey were husband and wife, and so marrying her brother would allow her sibling to get his legal immigration documents. But Mr. Osman isn't just saying that Omar married her biological brother. He also gave the Daily Mail the name of the Christian minister who married them. That minister reportedly says she does not want to be involved or interviewed about Congresswoman Omar.
Ass up! Lock his ass up! You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
Criticize the government?
What? You want to die? Criticize the government? You can't even speak without a man to vouch for you. You're a woman. Get her.
Welcome to America, Salma.
Can I criticize the government?
You are free to criticize the government.
Death to America! Death to America! Intifada! Intifada! Death to America!
As long as our economy and political systems prioritize profit without considering who is profiting, who is being shut out, we will perpetuate this inequality. So we cannot stop at criminal justice system. We must begin the work of dismantling the whole system of oppression wherever we find it.
All right, here goes nothing. Oh! Ow! Felt good for once.
You maniac!
So shut up, bitch!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever this video finds you, welcome to Tix. I know I'm sitting here watching all of this, but at the same time, I was updating my photography TikTok page at the same time where I can bring the photos to life. Anyway, so I took the week off because it was Give Thanksing. I had a lot of stuff to do, which of course I did. And here we are. I mean, you've had attacks on federal agents. You've got the scamming going on in Minnesota, and what we're going to do, we're going to cover the scamming going on in Minnesota as well as the shootings. Let's get into it.
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness. We had some technical difficulties, as you could see, but I think we are ready to rock. So let's get to it. I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the presidents of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the president and the first lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the president every day this week. So you have me today, and then he will.
What the hell is she wearing? What the hell is she wearing? What is this? She's oh my God. She clearly was raised either in some deep Midwest farmland or by her grandma, because what the hell is this? Let me stop.
Take on the rest of the week himself. Next, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America, 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving is a reminder that untold thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day. The border is now secure, thanks to President Trump, but the threat in our interior remains real and urgent. These public safety threats are already inside our land. And President Trump was elected on a promise to find and remove them. And he has already taken significant steps and made significant progress towards fulfilling this promise. But there is more work to be done because President Trump believes that he has a sacred obligation to reverse the calamity of mass, unchecked migration into our country. As a result, the Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. Any individual who threatens our national security or our citizenry will be subject to removal. President Trump has already permanently paused migration of foreign nationals from third world countries that pose a very high risk to the United States. For too long, past American presidents supported self-destructive immigration policies that allowed foreigners who outright hate our country and have no interest in assimilating into our culture. They've allowed these individuals to flood peaceful American communities. This disastrous approach has drained our welfare program, driven up the cost of housing, suppressed wages, and jeopardized the safety of law-abiding American citizens. In fact, according to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries.
I mean, we're going to cover Tim Walz tonight. I'm letting her talk because I want to get through this really quickly. We got some videos to go through showing what led up to all of this. But Tim Walz is he's on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat, as is Ilhan Omar, who, I mean, chick, you pissed off the president. And on her Twitter, she laughed when somebody said she could get deported. And she's been running around saying, I can't get deported. I'm an American citizen. No, you're not. You are a naturalized citizen, not a birthright citizen. Us as Black people, we are 14th Amendment birthright citizens. They're never going to do away with that. But a naturalized citizen, you can be denaturalized and deported. And in all honesty, I really do think they need to change the law to where you cannot hold government office. You can work for the government, but you can't hold an office of leadership as a naturalized citizen. You have to be at least 2 generations deep before you're even considered for that. That's ridiculous that you got somebody that's purebred Somalian, wasn't born and raised here, but she's holding a seat in Congress. Are you kidding me? No.
It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well. And I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so. With that, I will open it up to questions, and we'll lead today with Isabel Brown, who is in our new media seat. She's a very popular face on television these days. She's built a great independent media podcast and platform with the Daily Wire, and I appreciate your being here, Isabel. Thank you for being
Caroline.
Which reminds me, as we do before we do a room check, that Seditionist 6. I wonder if they'll ask questions about that, because she hasn't spoken since that video came out. But they understand what they're doing. They know that you have some young, woke, silly Americans who are serving in the U.S. military, and all they do is sit up and watch like CNN and MSNBC and The View. They watch Democratic media. So they think that Trump is bad. There's a lot of service members on TikTok who are complaining, who are talking as seditionists, who are losing, they're getting dishonorably discharged. They're talking about how you can con your way out of the military and still keep your benefits. So the Seditionist 6 know their audience. So if you get somebody that's like in a Black Hawk and you have to fire on terrorists, these are the type of people that'll be next to you, who's on that, nobody's illegal on stolen land and open borders and all of this garbage. They'll be in that mentality, and they'll endanger the lives of their fellow military members and think nothing of it. They'll really think that protecting criminals, because of how orders make them feel, is them stopping, quote unquote, Trump from breaking the law. I swear, in the military, they definitely need to have these people take civics classes and understand that the real truth of why you're here. You're not here just for benefits. You're here to protect the country. Because if you don't protect this country, you'll wind up like Europe, France, Germany, whatever iteration you want to take. You'll be on the wrong end of history, brainwashed into thinking that letting foreigners invade your country is the right thing to do. You have too many young people that are brainwashed into this, because in high school, college, matter of fact, it starts really in elementary. Not only were they trying to teach little boys how to stick vibrators and penises in their mouths and buttholes, but they are also filling their heads up with communist propaganda. Reinforced in the college ranks. Do you understand? Reinforced by the college ranks. This is why you get somebody like an Ilhan Omar or Aisha Presley. What is that idiot? Oh, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, etc. Sharita Tlaib. They start talking like psychopaths. They start talking like traitors. And you have young Americans who agree with that. Now, the old Americans, old white folks, they doing that for the check. But young white, Black, and Hispanic people, mainly young white and Black, they really believe in the bullshit that they've been trained to believe, that communism is the key, that Zoran Mondani is the truth. They really believe that. And if this was a true dictatorship, they would be lined up in front of a wall and, get a chance to meet their maker. That's why I say that whole insurrection that happened in California, the government handled that wrong. But the Democratic Party, when they were asking Pete Hegseth, would you shoot a person in the leg? Would you, if Trump gave an order that was illegal, would you agree with it? Like, well, if I don't, then I'm either I'm either fired or what? Am I forming a coup? You really want me to have a military coup here in the United States? First off, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. And even if I tried, I wouldn't survive it. This is the U.S. If we really wanted to take down the president, we can. Any one of you cabinet members, we can nail you. It doesn't take much effort. It's not as hard as you think it is. But you keep talking crazy, and then when somebody punch you in the mouth, you want to scream, oh, racism, or this isn't fair. It's some type of ism. Never mind that you deserved it. It's your appropriate punishment. All right, so let's check the room. All right, so we got the chick. Looks like she's finally wearing shoes that match her outfit. You got the he, she, Katie, what is her name? Katie, I'm about to say Couric, but whatever. Caitlyn Jenner. Let's call her that. Let's see. Is California Cutie in the house? I don't see her. Normally she's standing up over here, but lately she's been sitting down here in this second and third row. She's not here. Let's see here. We got the brother right here. Where's the brother with the toupee? All right, we got the California surfer dude right here. Got the black chick that asked a stupid question a couple months ago right here. Let's see here. I guess not. All right, let's get on with it.
Appreciate it and appreciate the briefing. Many Americans, in light of these recent events that you just mentioned, are starting to say that we are being invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, it's a great question. I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front. And it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month, but we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Excuse me. Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen? And the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order.
All right, so what they're talking about, as you know, they've been blowing up Venezuelan drug boats. So apparently the story is that they hit a boat, boom, blew it out of the water, but the occupants survived. They're in the middle of the ocean now, or the peninsula. They're in the middle of the water. So, according to the report that they're going by, or what they heard, was that they went ahead and just finished them off. I mean, personally, if I hit your drug boat in the middle of the water, in the middle of the ocean, and your drug boat blows up, well, I could either let you tread water till you drown, or I can finish you off quickly, because I'm definitely not capturing you alive, so I can go ahead and hit you in another drug boat later, especially in international waters. Now, I understand you've got your whole Geneva Convention and rules of war and everything, but when it comes to drug dealers are different than fighting other countries over territory. These are people who 100% are trying to kill you and profit off of your misery. You do not get pity. Now, maybe it would have been better if they just let them tread water till they drowned. Let them feel the terror that these parents of these children who are addicted to fentanyl, let them go through that terror. Only instead of fentanyl, it's water, shark infested waters at that. Let them go through that terror till their final moments. Create a little military snuff film. You probably would have came out better. That way you wouldn't have had to worry about this, because you're not obligated to rescue anybody.
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America, and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last. And it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro?
You're cherry picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that.
That's the same thing Maduro did. When Trump took office and he was trying to work out a deal with Trump as far as bringing back the Tren de Agua members and make the oil deal, he snitched. He said, well, the Biden administration, not Biden himself. He said the Biden administration called him and told him, hey, look, send us the worst of the worst that you have. Send us your criminals, empty your jails and your asylums and send them up north. We'll even give you a stipend of American taxpayer money for them to get up there. Maduro snitched because he knew Trump is a man. He's not Biden, and he's definitely not Kamala. He's not soft. I think that's what really a lot of people, especially low IQ, soft-made males, they hate the fact that they're dealing with a grown man, an old school grown man in the White House. They're not used to that. You haven't had a man, and I mean a man, not a male, but a man. You haven't had a man in the White House since Bill Clinton. Say what you will about him, because there's a lot you can say about Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton was a man amongst men. You didn't mess with him. He wasn't pussyfied. He wasn't soft. You dare not shake your finger in Bill Clinton's face like that white chick did Obama, because you knew there was a good chance he might snap it off right there on camera. Or better yet, you like, step in there for someone. Come on, get on the plane. You want to shake your finger? Get on the plane. Get on the plane. You're going to mess around there, be like Dick Cheney's friend. I was shot while we was hunting. It was an accident. Like, really? Have you apologizing for getting shot on a hunting accident? You know, I mean, no matter how soft you may think that Trump is right now in his old age, he's really not. He's really not. That's why I think, I have to be honest, Pam Bondi, I think, not only do I think she's soft, but I think that she's a low-key Democratic sympathizer. Because as I was saying last night, and you watched the broadcast last night, Detroit, say Biden administration is responsible for this. Yeah, you watched the broadcast last night. I was on Charles's program. I was like, like Janine Pirro would have been a great state attorney general for the country, not the soccer mom who tells you, you know, after you just raped and murdered 12 people out in public, that she's just going to send you to your room with no dessert, but when nobody's looking, when dad's asleep, she sneaks you 2 cookies. You don't need that type of person. You don't need a soccer mom as the head of the DOJ. You need a Judge Judy type to be head of the DOJ, especially with everything that he's trying to get done. Again, you're arresting all of the capos, but none of the dons that would be members of Congress are being arrested. I mean, you got a couple of them, a couple of low-level congresswomen who are getting arrested, like the chick in Miami for stealing the money. The other chick, MacGyver, who assaulted the ICE officer. You know, that's petty stuff. I mean, that chick, the chick in Miami, oh yeah, she might get a Marilyn Mosby deal. We'll see. You know, although she should get a Kwame Kilpatrick deal. But we'll see. We'll see. They've been, from what I've seen, they've been very soft on crime when it comes to the dons. Matter of fact, so why did Dick Cheney shoot mistakenly? The dude said something that ticked him off. Because, you know, Dick Cheney was a ruthless SOB. You know, that whole oil deal over there with Iraq, that whole situation. Yeah, I mean, he was ruthless. He wanted that money, and he was not going to stop at anything to get it. The guy said something that ticked Dick Cheney off, or he did something that ticked him off, and Dick Cheney shot him in the face with birdshot. Shot him in the face with birdshot. I mean, you're talking about military contracts here, oil contracts. You do not play with billions upon billions of dollars. You don't screw that up.
Jack.
Caroline, following from Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
Oh, so they did do a second strike. So they're now looking at the reporters like, what are y'all crying about? Like, I tell you what, would you rather we scoop the drug dealers up and move them in with you? We could put them on an ankle monitor and lock them in the house with you. How about that? How about that? Since you want to complain so much about what happened, they can live with you. No? Then shut your goddamn mouth.
On this pardon for the Honduran president, does it at all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco-terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for your members to defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. I think that President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from coming to our borders, whether that's by land or by sea. And he's also made it quite clear that he wants to correct the wrongs of the weaponized Justice Department under the previous administration. And Ouija, I'll call on you because I think we're wearing matching blazers today. It's been a great month.
Oh, Lord. Oh, God, they are. They are wearing matching blazers. Must be the Christmas blazer from the grandma collection. Oh my God, the ugly Christmas blazer. It must be a shop where they sell ugly Christmas clothes. Oh my God. They call it the chop shop. Oh, let me stop. But you know what? This goes back to when I was saying about the border. When they put up the border wall, the U.S. should use the same drones that they use, that they sold Ukraine, where you have the spy drone, you know, it finds you. And then, of course, you have the strike drones that follow right behind the spy drone. Like, oh, look, targets. And they just wipe you out. You start executing a few of these people, you don't have to worry about it. But now, from what I understand, the reports are out that Trump is sending the Marines, Special Strike Force operations into Mexico to take down the cartels. You know? They sending in the berets to go handle these cartels, because the only way you're going to really stop the cartels is if you cut the head off of the snake. And if you want to grow 2 more heads, well, we'll cut off all 5 heads that would grow. We'll work our way up the chain. We'll start from the capos up to the dons. We'll work it out. You have no problems. It'll be on some black dynamite, cleaning up the streets type of situation, if that's how you really want to play it. And if you wipe out the cartel leaders, then what happens to your drug trade? You start burning their fields, or you take them over and use them for medicinal purposes. And then look at the Mexican president, look at her and be like, what you gonna do about it? You gonna send your little army? Gonna send your army to come tackle the United States? Do you really want to do that? You little narco drug queen pin. or will you sit back and let us do what we do and you just pay lip service? Because I want you to understand, either way, if we don't do this, or if you try to stop us, you're not going to stop us. And eventually what's going to happen is one of those little narco kingpin terrorists is going to come and collect your head, because they're going to realize just how powerless you really are. So in all honesty, if I was her, I would go ahead and just give them a map of everybody, where they live, this is where they are, whatnot, and then take a freaking vacation. Take a vacation. Go to Russia or China somewhere. Go somewhere where they can't get you. Govern from teleconference for at least a good 2, 3, 4 months. Come back when the smoke is cleared if you call yourself wanting to survive. You know, like Zelensky does. Because you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You little narco puppet, you're in trouble. You're more in trouble than Maduro is.
Thank you, Caroline. So just to be clear, to clarify on Jackie and Gabe, did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that. However, the president has made it quite clear that if narco terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing. Danny?
Follow up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So there you go. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to Venezuela, can you confirm that President Trump is going to be hosting a meeting of his national security team in the Oval Office today on Venezuela? And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort of transparency, I will confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander in chief. It's part of his responsibility to ensure that peace is ongoing throughout the world. I'm definitely not going to detail the specifics of a meeting between the president and his national security team that's taking place in the Oval Office, but I'm happy to confirm that meeting is taking place for you.
Can you tell us, what's the position on whether US troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative?
In Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table, and I'll let him speak on those. Ed.
The U.S. announced a trade framework deal with the United Kingdom on pharmaceuticals, where they will pay 25% more, and the savings theoretically will go back to American consumers. What guarantees are in that savings will in fact go back to the American consumer and not be sucked up by the company?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I'll get you the answer to that question after the briefing.
So the American Rescue Plan,
Sure.
so funded a number of universal income.
Kush will get you that answer, right, Kush? My trade guy over here.
The American Rescue Plan funded a number of universal basic income programs. Now Cook County, Illinois is extending that program into 2026 with $7.5 million of taxpayer money. What does the White House think about that?
I'll also get you an answer on that after the briefing.
Hope for two.
Go ahead. Sure.
And then in the interest of transparency, does the White House support releasing the Department of Defense's video of those September 2nd strikes on those military boats? And also, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David Gentile recently? He's a private.
Oh, wait, there's California cutie. Okay, here she go. I mind this bald-head white dude. I told you she started sitting down. I guess now she's in the fourth row. Anyway.
Private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. Prosecutor said he defrauded $1.6 billion with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make. I would defer you to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
All right. It took me a minute to figure out, because this isn't the first time they brought this up, this pardon that they gave this guy. It's like, who the hell are they talking about? So I did a little digging, didn't take much, put his name up. Apparently, it was a husband and wife TikTok social media team that, they were social media influencers and they were running some type of investment thing. All right. And just like in Goodfellas, in Casino, you invest. If you lose your money, you lose your money. But of course, the people that lost their money, they wanted their money back. They was pulling the Joe Pesci on him. So they had him prosecuted and of course convicted in the court of law, even though the deals that he made fell through. Now, I don't have the paperwork on it, so I don't know everything that went on, but he was convicted, and Trump, of course, wound up overturning the conviction because Trump felt that the guy was railroaded. Because sometimes investments, they go through, sometimes they don't. And Trump doesn't know this guy. He has zero connections to this guy whatsoever, which tells me that the guy was railroaded. Right? This isn't like a freeway Ricky Ross, or who was the guy in Chicago that Trump gave the pardon to, but now it's up to Pritzker to give him a state pardon, but he got a federal pardon. Some rapper or whatnot, or drug kingpin or whatever. I don't know. I don't keep up with that crap. But yeah, that's who this guy is. He was very moist. He comes off like Stewart from Mad TV. He acts like that. He's very moist. But yeah, that's what they're talking about. It's a weird situation. I don't even know why they even bothered to bring it up.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made. Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then you.
In wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead,
Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains very good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go.
You know what? Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, with her retiring, I mean, her seat is going to sit empty until after the primaries. But I mean, she's a Georgia girl. She's down here in Georgia. Her county is majority white and Republican. So, you know, her stepping down, it's really no big loss. You know, it's like if AOC stepped down, you already know that they're going to throw in another Democrat in her spot. So, you know, the only thing you're really losing out on is the personality. But she did introduce some bills to the House, as opposed to others who like to run their mouth in Congress, who all they do is call people white supremacists, but yet they're inactive as hell. You know, they don't introduce any bills, any legislation, because they're not smart enough to draft them or come up with them. They're only worried about being social media and TV stars and trying to keep their 15 minutes of fame, trying to extend it for like a reality show or something like that. Just pathetic. So the antics might be missed, but we'll see. I don't think anybody really cares, to be honest.
Go ahead.
Sure. First on the Venezuela strike, you said that second
strike
was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and that second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
On immigration, during your topper, you said, and I quote, leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. Can you explain what you mean by our nation's national identity and integrity and character, and how would refugees, people coming from war-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
Bro, what the hell are you talking about? Are you not paying? Keep in mind, this was done earlier today. And it's like, are you not paying attention to what the president said? I mean, you're sitting here in the press pool asking me a stupid question that the president already addressed. No more third world country pissants are allowed to come into this country, and we're going to denaturalize and deport those that are here that are part of certain countries, that being Somalia, Venezuela, all right, Turkey, Afghanistan, and any other third world Muslim shithole like the people in Dearborn, Michigan. And as I was saying last night on Charles's program, that big beautiful bill kicks into play in 30 days, because today's the 1st. January 1st, all of that, the money from those tariffs get diverted into DHS and ICE. That being the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. They've already hired these agents. These guys right now are going through training. They've been going through training for like a month or so. Remember, these people were getting hired on the spot. All they had to do was just come back, pass a background check, and come back with clean P. They reported, 2 weeks ago, that they had people dropping out because of their health. They were in poor health. Like, it's fine. We still need people to work the computers. Are you computer savvy at least? We still need those type of people. We still need people who can sit inside these deportation areas and hold guard. We still need them. You don't have to go out into the street. You can be that fat donut eating cop that sits behind a desk, or just transport prisoners from one holding cell to another. I mean, they're going to be cuffed by the ankles. You're not going to have to run behind these guys. Are you kidding me? You can walk and catch them if they try to run, or pull out your taser. It doesn't matter. But come January 1st, the first place they're going to hit will be Minnesota, Dearborn, Michigan, then back to Chicago, North Carolina, South Carolina, with the biggest bite outside of New York. The biggest bite will be California. They'll probably just do one big giant sweep. New York, Boston, New York, Massachusetts, North Carolina, South Carolina. They're not even worried about Florida. Ron DeSantis got that handled. Philadelphia, Boston, Maryland, Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, Tennessee, Kentucky. It'll just be a sweep. They'll just sweep from the East Coast to the West Coast. Portland is going to be a bloodbath. I can tell you right there, that right now, because you got a lot of retards up there. Yeah, and I said it. A lot of retards up there in Portland that really do think that they are fighting a civil war. Their government is behind them. Next year, 2026, 2027, I expect a lot of arrests of Democratic leaders for seditionist behavior. Mainly because of the money, not because of the rhetoric. You know, you can quote unquote say whatever you want to say, but if I run a forensic audit on you, like they're going to do with Ilhan and Tim Walz, and I see that you're a part of a money laundering scheme of taxpayer funds, I'm going to break you, then I'm going to jail you. And if you're not from here, after your sentence, we're going to deport you. You'll go back home old and penniless. And then you hit Arizona, New Mexico, and California. You squeeze them. With you going from the East Coast, working your way to the West Coast, you're just squeezing these people into a box, into a corner, all the way down to San Diego, to Tijuana. You force these people out. You either get out or we'll force you out. There's not enough overstepping by a federal judge that will help you. They've been nipping those federal judges in the bud left to right and center every time they pop their little heads up like whack-a-mole. They killed me when Brandon Johnson and Gavin Newsom come out. We're winning in court. Yeah, and then the appellate court gets it and smacks it down. You don't talk about that. You don't talk about how you're losing in appellate court. Anybody can win an immediate injunction, but the appellate court is where it really matters. And you're losing in the appellate courts. You win a petty case here or there, but what they do, what is this organization, this Trump presidency, what happens when they lose an appeal? Abrego Garcia, for example, bring him back. You can't send him to Venezuela. Okay, you know where he is right now? In a third world African shithole. That's where he is right now, today. And just like Pam Softy said, hey, if we don't send him to Venezuela, or no, wait, not Venezuela. Where is he from? El Salvador. If we don't send him back to El Salvador, he'll wind up somewhere worse than El Salvador. So his best bet is to go back to El Salvador. But no, you wanted to meddle in federal affairs. So now he's in an African shithole where he doesn't speak. He don't speak that language. And he doesn't speak English. And the messed up part is he's not even in a holding cell. They just dumped him out on the streets. Oregon absolutely cooked. Yeah. Like you're not doing these people that you're fighting so hard for, you're not doing them any favors. Liberal white people sitting here in this audience, you're not doing these people any favors. You're setting these people up for a fail. You're setting them up. Oh my God, you setting them up for failure real bad. I know. She cute. She cute. Of course, California cutie. It's just something I noticed. All right, let's get back to it.
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya.
By the way, she's talking about this organization, this restaurant that Ilhan Omar was all in front of the camera supporting with an apron and holding dishes. And yes, and we feed the poor here and goony goo gus, goony goo goo. And then of course suddenly, like a year ago, she was under investigation because her husband suddenly popped up with $30 million talking about a winery. Never mind that he's had nothing but a bunch of funky finger production businesses that have failed miserably. Suddenly he comes up with $30 million for a winery. And of course the Biden administration called themselves investigating that. So that went nowhere. But now she's of course back on the radar because she doesn't know how to shut her stupid mouth and lay low. She's brazen and arrogant, and that's what she's a typical Americanized black female. You can't shut your goddamn mouth for nothing. I'm not bragging on all, but I'm just saying you can't shut your mouth for nothing You've been hanging out with Jasmine Crockett too long, so therefore you think you can get away with this stuff. Well, you about the FAFO, honey.
Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state, where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore. Rachel.
Thank you, Caroline. Just to follow back up on the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, so that's not the he, she, Caitlin Collins. Okay, because this woman she's cute. All right, sorry about that, but let's go.
Is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike?
Why?
What imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors, was there a change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that two survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, 2 people were rescued and returned to Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge, no. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal under works?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, he said, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further if he wishes to on the details of that conversation that took place.
Steve Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida. And now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We've put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined. But as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate. But we do feel quite good, and we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end. Stephen.
Caroline, I've got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources in Ukraine. What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation? And how is that impacting case folks?
Okay, look, first and foremost, we know Ukraine, that we know that there's a lot of corruption in Ukraine. They've been taking American weapons and selling them on the black market. Zelensky has been using the money that was given to him under the Biden administration to fund his wife's lifestyle. I mean, look, that's not a secret or it's an open secret. But to try to play the game with Zelensky in order to try to get this deal with Russia out of the way, because understand what the deal is. The deal is, here's what Zelensky wants. Zelensky wants to be part of NATO. They're not, we're not making you part of NATO. Because if he joins NATO, then he has absolute protection against Russia. And they're like, we're not doing that. But what we will do, because the second thing he wants all of Russian troops to leave Ukraine and give back the land that they've already claimed as they advance into Ukraine. And Russia's like, no, we're not giving up nothing. We lost countrymen for this, and you expect us to give this up? But the United States is saying, hey, look, whatever territory you have, you can still have claim over it. And what we'll do, we'll both work the mineral deal, right? You and I and Zelensky will have our 3 piece of the pie. All right, we'll cut it up in 3, and you get your share, we get our share, Ukraine gets their share. But then, of course, you have the EU. They're like, hold on, wait a minute. We get a piece of the pie too. And United States and Russia are looking at Ukraine like, well, you need to work out the EU's portion out of your portion, because we're not giving up shit. Like, you guys didn't contribute to any of this. You're like stepchildren, or no, worse yet, no. Okay, let me best describe it. When a guy, he got his baby mama got kids by other dudes, and she called and say, well, my kid, your kid is hungry. So you show up with a McDonald's bag for your kid, and she tripping. I can even bring my other kids something because I'm not their father. Call their fathers. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it to you so you guys understand. But it's like, I'm here to make sure that my child eats. You need to make sure that your children eat by calling up their fathers to feed them. I'm not here to feed your children. I'm here to feed mine. That's the way the US and Russia are looking at the EU with their hand out, with Ukraine being the single mother. Those are your bastard children. You made deals with them, or you should make deals with them, because we're not giving them nothing. They can't kick our ass. So, but they can surely kick yours. So maybe you need to talk to them about how much of the piece of your pie you're going to cough up for them doing absolutely nothing. They didn't provide you with not one ship, not one soldier, no nothing. I mean, them UN peacekeepers, get the hell out of here. You kidding me? It's like sending a bunch of 5th graders to go fight some seniors in a gang fight. Are you kidding me? They get slaughtered. So that's where your stalemate is. And Russia is like, well, we're just going to keep bombing the hell out of you until you decide to give up and accept the deal that's on the table and work it out with the EU. Because we're not giving up our piece of the pie. US, you giving up your 33%? No, and neither are we. We keeping our 33.3. That's the situation. No matter where the cookie crumbles, it's all about percentages.
Look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does not want to see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO that are being sent to Ukraine. That's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
Yeah, you hear that? Hit the Cash App. They like Omar. Trump is like Omar. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. Hit the PayPal. You can Venmo me. We'll send you the weapons. And we ain't giving you nothing.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims, or the roughly 1 million people from the 18 other countries of concern, know about what's going on in the review?
They might as well pull them. You can forget it. You're not getting in. One, the bad apple spoils the bunch, and we got a lot of bad apples in this country from third world shitholes.
What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously because we're not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America.
That's that guy at the beginning of the intro video. You don't know who I am. Soon you will know who I am. She's talking about him.
I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Caroline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to you and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have 2 questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we don't get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Probably absolutely nothing. You all get the fuck out and then reapply, and we'll see. We'll see.
Sure. I can tell you 2 top-level things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort. And I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications. And then, of course, the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these 2 brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort. And I think, unfortunately, these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that,
just follow up. The White House today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that, ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks? And are you also going to name some of the correspondents, some which may be here today?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that. A fake news portal. So I guess the White House is about to run their own Snopes operation. What is this?
We are. I'm glad you noticed. much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place. And it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And, you know, the standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, zero credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard this. And then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right. And there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all, and to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go, from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false. And it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same reporter who wrote this: Biden is doing 100% fine after tripping while boarding Air Force One. Oh, same outlet, same reporter who wrote that President Trump is not fit for the job. Are you kidding me? You all see him almost every single day. He is the most accessible president in history. He is taking meetings around the clock. Another one, Biden declared, quote, healthy and vigorous after his first presidential physical. I don't see headlines like that too often about this president. Again, same reporter, same outlet who wrote falsely over the weekend that President Trump is not fit for the job. I can assure you he absolutely is. You all see that with your own eyes on a daily basis, and the president's physician has now given you all 3 detailed reports on the state of the president's health. So
I guess those stories were written by Ned Leeds for the Daily Bugle. I want Spider-Man! Spider-Man robbing the bank with a rhino! Writing them type of stories.
that, I will leave you all. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, so let's get on to it. But what she said concerning fake news and whatnot, this is why on this channel we watch the interviews, we watch the press conferences, because ever since that whole very fine people situation where CNN perpetrated that race hoax, like, no, like I'm not dealing with any more fake news outlets. If we don't do local news and be able to decipher it, then we're not going to do CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, because Fox News will sensationalize, whereas CNN, MSNBC will lie and race bait and provide cover for criminals. So we use Forbes around here, or we go straight to the White House. It's either the White House or Forbes or local news. You get more truth out of them than you do out of the alphabet, big brand cable alphabet media. They lie so much because they need a narrative to push. So let's get on to the next story, because now we're looking for all of this fraud going on in Minnesota.
We begin with new allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties. Esme Murphy has been following this case, and she joins us now. Esme?
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties, between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations. And that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involves scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged.
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the two workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now, the hearing left a lot of people, including us, with a lot of questions that were not answered. One of the big ones, the 12 other counties where the fraud was discovered are not being named.
Well, welcome back. As Governor Walz begins his campaign for a third term, his handling of fraud in our state will be a topic his opponents put front and center. Joe McCoy has a closer look at how both sides are addressing the issue tonight. Joe?
Well, Julie, State Representative Kristen Robbins has made it clear that a cornerstone of her campaign for governor will be going after Governor Walz for his handling of fraud in state programs. But today, Walz took steps as well to address the issue.
The millions of dollars in fraud uncovered within Minnesota state agencies is something Governor Walz is likely to face intense scrutiny for in his campaign for his third term as governor.
I think he has failed to hold his agencies accountable.
Kristen Robbins is one of Walz's Republican opponents in the race for governor. She also is the chair of the House Fraud Committee, which held a Capitol hearing Wednesday to grill state officials about why they were slow to act when warned repeatedly about fraud.
These are not political games. These are people's lives. This is about trying to help vulnerable Minnesotans get the services they need and protect taxpayers.
Possibly to get ahead of this oversight hearing, Walz issued his executive order to combat fraud while the hearing happened.
Let's just be honest. Tim Walz is dangerous. Remember they killed that congresswoman because she didn't vote in favor of the Medicare scam that they were running there? Remember she came out of session and she was crying because she knew her life was in danger. They shot 4 people. That guy shot 4 people. He shot another man and wife lawmaker, and then he went after her. He went after her and her husband. That's why they were doing a welfare check on her, because they had already gotten the report that 2 other lawmakers had been shot. And the corruption is so deep, they already knew where to look. They already knew where to go. You don't just show up at somebody's house to do a welfare check out of the blue. It's because you know that they're a target. Unfortunately, they got there too late. Tim Walz is very dangerous.
This comes after DHS terminated the assistant commissioner in charge of the Housing Stabilization Services Program, Eric Grundle, hours before Wednesday's Capitol hearing.
If there's any grandstanding going on or trying to hide the ball, it is not by this committee. Thank you.
He probably won't underplay it. He probably will attack it.
Democratic political analyst Jeff Hayden believes Walz is determined to fix the fraud issue, in part so it's not what he is remembered for as governor.
I think the governor really is mission driven and wants to fight and to try to do as much as he can to protect Minnesotans. And I don't think he wants his legacy to be this issue of fraud.
Another political analyst I spoke with said although Walz faces a lot of hurdles going into his re-election campaign, one thing going for him is there is no clear Republican challenger at the moment. Julie.
All right, thank you, Joe.
A massive fraud scheme uncovered in Minnesota found money intended for social services has been allegedly siphoned indirectly into the pockets of the Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Somali immigrants in Minnesota have reportedly been abusing systems meant to help the most unfortunate among us, including the latest federally funded autism services. The autism fraud scheme reportedly amassed $14 million through Medicare claims for services that were never provided, involving kids who never had autism. And the Somali immigrants behind this web of schemes have allegedly stolen billions from taxpayers, much of the money going back to the Somali government, where it would then end up in the hands of terrorists. Manhattan Institute investigative reporter Ryan Thorpe was one of the first exposing the schemes for their ties to terrorism. With us now, Ryan, a line from your story stuck out. The largest funder of al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer, and you cite an unnamed source for that. What is the evidence that all of this money that was taken and the billions upon billions of increased funding in Minnesota for social services ended up in Somalia?
Well, billions of dollars of government welfare money is missing in the state of Minnesota.
How do we define missing?
Well, the fraud is so bad that the U.S. Attorney's Office has come out and indicated that they believe their entire government programs, where the fraudulent claims outstrip the legitimate ones. There are cases where indictments have come down or guilty pleas are already in to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars that were fraudulently obtained, filing false claims alongside doctored paperwork. And the indictments are continuing to come. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has made very clear that this is a network of fraud schemes stacked upon fraud schemes, and that while the true dollar figure in terms of stolen funds at this point isn't quite clear, it's safe to say that we're talking about billions of dollars.
You done fucked up now! It's pretty wild, some of the things that you lay out, including one group called Feeding the Future that went from getting $3.4 million in 2019 to $200 million 2 years later. They grew faster than NVIDIA. How did nobody see that? Or is it that people and the government and those who are supposed to be the watchdogs, like Tim Walz, like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, there just weren't looking?
I think it's safe to say that there was a real unwillingness or inability among Democratic state officials in Minnesota to recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells here. All across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
Wow. And that would explain why now it's the U.S. attorney looking into it rather than the state law enforcement or state fraud investigators. Is there any indication, Ryan, as you get, and it's one of those things you drop an investigative piece and then all of a sudden you get 1,000 more tips, that this goes higher, like actually into state government? You get the last 30 seconds.
I can't confirm that. So I don't want to get out in front of my skis here. What I can say is that this story has generated additional tips, and it is something that we are continuing to look into as we push forward with our efforts to expose the fraud rings that have been taking advantage of the generosity of Minnesota taxpayers.
Yeah, stunning also how little pickup this has gotten around the country in terms of the rest of the media. Applaud your guys' continued work on it. Ryan, come back and talk to us as you uncover more, all right?
Excellent, sounds good.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.
Move on.
And some new charges are filed in the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme.
A 77th defendant has been indicted. Our Bill Keller live in front of the federal courthouse in Minneapolis this morning with more on the latest charges. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. In fact, 5 years after federal investigators first uncovered this.
I mean, first and foremost, understand, you don't hear these stories on CNN and MSNBC and ABC or whatnot. They don't talk about this. This is why they're at the very bottom of the ratings, Like you see the Nielsen cable news ratings, out of the top 15, only Rachel Maddow. It's all Fox News. Only Rachel Maddow has cracked that top 15, and she's in 13th place. I don't know why people watch her, but she's in 13th place. Everything else is Fox. It's all Fox programming.
Scheme to siphon $250 million in pandemic relief. The number of people charged in this massive fraud continues to grow. On Thursday, the Department of Justice filed a 9-count indictment against Usman Kamara, the 45-year-old now charged with wire fraud, bribery, and money laundering. Federal prosecutors say that he owned a small grocery store.
Look at this. Claim to feed 1,000 kids per day at small Minneapolis grocery store. That Ilhan Omar was, of course, all in front of promoting. I'm telling you, I'll say it again, the best way to get these people out of office is just to do a forensic audit. You'll find so much fraud with a forensic audit.
Store in North Minneapolis and claimed to be feeding 1,000 kids a day, 7 days a week during the pandemic.
Damn.
Kamara, who allegedly claimed more than $1 million in reimbursements, sent about $100,000 overseas, and he is just the latest to be charged. Earlier this year, Amy Bach, the executive director and founder of Feeding Our Future, was convicted of orchestrating the entire fraud scheme. Following a 6-week trial, it only took jurors 5 hours to convict Bach and her co-defendant, Salim Saeed. They were guilty on all counts, including conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery. Now, Saeed was one of many meal site operators who collected millions in federal assistance. He falsely claimed to be serving meals to as many as 60,000 kids each day. Little perspective, that is twice the number of students enrolled in the entire Minneapolis Public School District. Of the 77 people now charged in connection with Feeding Our Future, 56 have pled guilty to their role in the scheme, and 7 others have been convicted in 2 separate trials. Back to you.
Yeah, the story continues here. All right, Bill Keller, Live Force. Thank you, Bill.
Tonight, the legal status of some in Minnesota's Somali community is in question after President Trump announced last night he was terminating temporary protected status for Somali migrants in Minnesota due to fraudulent activity in the state. Now there are calls for the president to reconsider the action. Our Richard Reeves speaking with people who are directly impacted about their concerns, Rich.
Yeah, Kellen, people in the Somali community definitely worried tonight. Our state has the largest Somali population in the country. The last count from Minnesota Compass showing nearly 80,000 people. It's estimated less than 1% have TPS. Still, there are fears about the future. From the Carmel Mall in South Minneapolis to the Dar Al Farouk Islamic Center in Bloomington. What's the mood? What people are thinking about all this?
So this has been very scary. A lot of people are very fearful.
Board member Khalid Omar says there are several members here who are in the TPS Somali program. Some have lived in Minnesota a decade or more. The notion that President Trump might terminate the program has many worried.
At this moment, the only thing that can defend is the court of law. That's the only thing that can defend us.
Temporary protected status is meant for those whose home countries are experiencing civil unrest, violence, or natural disasters. Somali immigrants have been eligible since 1991.
I'm worried. He said, I don't know where I go.
We spoke on the phone with a Minneapolis woman whose niece fled Somalia 2 years ago. She says the 23-year-old now has TPS status, but unsure about the future. Is she afraid she might be taken out of the U.S. and sent back to Somalia?
He said yes, because Somalia is scared of something, so still I'm scared to go there.
For TPS holders, this is their worst nightmare.
Jailani Hussein with the Council on American Islamic Relations fears families will be torn apart. Children born in the U.S. are citizens, while their parents may have TPS status.
Okay, they're still working that out. The Trump administration is still working that out. I think it went to the Supreme Court as far as birthright citizenship. I'm not sure if they upheld it and then an appeals court overturned it, but I know it's in limbo. I'll let this play and I'll check it out. But the whole thing is Tom Homan said, because they asked the question, well, what about the children that were born here Are you saying that you're going to split up the family? He's like, no, they can go with them. We're not going to hold these kids hostage. You can go back home with your parents. Come back when you're 18. Or stay with your, if you have a father or mother that's a U.S. citizen, you can stay with them. That's the custody issue for you guys to work out. But we're not going to kidnap your children. Just going to boot you.
Most of the families impacted are mixed status, or some citizens, some on their way to being citizens. So this will definitely be a family separation policy.
The aunt of that 23-year-old says she hopes President Trump will have a change of heart.
I wish he changed his mind, what he's saying, because America is a dreamland and everybody wants to stay, and we want to stay the people.
All right, so it says here, I just took a look. Oh, God, come back. Come back. All right. The hell? Damn it. Okay. So the current situation. Executive order on January 20th, 2025. President Trump signed an order titled Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship. Because, let's see. Well, they detailed it here. It seeks to end automatic citizenship for children born in the U.S. if neither parent is a citizen or lawful permanent resident. Because I remember, like, I've got two cousins that were born in Germany because their father was in the military, but they were born on a U.S. military base. So therefore, they were able to retain their U.S. citizenship without being classified as German citizens. All right. So it was like, here's a double protection clause that you have here. See, legal basis. Birthright citizenship is currently guaranteed under the 14th Amendment, which was meant only for Black people who were in bondage, which states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. Supreme Court action. The court has not yet acted on challenges to Trump's order. Instead, it has relisted the case for further review, the common step when justices want more time to decide whether to grant full review. Okay, so that's what's going on. If the court grants review, oral arguments would likely occur in early 2026 with a decision by June or July of 2026. All right, so the court is meeting privately, next scheduled on December 5th, so 4 days away, to decide whether to hear the case. The court could deny review, leaving lower court rulings in place. It could grant review, setting up a major constitutional showdown over the 14th Amendment. Trump has tied the order to his broader immigration agenda, including pledges of mass deportation. His administration claims millions of undocumented immigrants have already been removed or self-deported. So, in all honesty, if I was the Supreme Court, I would say from this point forward, like when they ruled on it, like, okay, look, here's our ruling. The 14th Amendment is for the former children, the children of former slaves, African Americans. That was put in place for them. We're not going to broaden it because it's people who are using it to circumvent our immigration laws and statuses. So starting on this day forward, any child born of foreign nationality here on the U.S. soil, they are a citizen of that country of which their parents originated from. If you got a Frenchman and a Canadian, then that's between France and Canada. That's between Zimbabwe and China. It has nothing to do with us. Take your little mixed breed with you. Get the hell up out of here. Because the whole anchor baby thing is a scam, just like welfare, Section 8, food stamps. It's all there. Everybody games the system. You need to close the loopholes in gaming the system. Flat out.
Supporters say the TPS program is a lifeline and a legal pathway to residency in the U.S. Hussein notes that the Department of Homeland Security has not yet formally terminated the program. There could be legal challenges. That 23-year-old woman we mentioned in the story says she's already seeking advice of an attorney, Callan.
Okay, thank you, Rich.
Did money from Minnesota taxpayers earmarked to feed hungry children wind up in the hands of a Somali terrorist group? The allegations center around a massive welfare fraud case being brought in Minnesota. A 78th defendant was charged just today. And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group. In response, President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks, though he's provided no evidence for that. So what are the facts on the ground? Investigative correspondent Rich McHugh is at the...
Actually, they have provided evidence for that because they followed the money, stupid.
Federal courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota for us tonight. Rich, what are you learning?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab. But I want to reset this for viewers because it's complicated. This all stems from Feeding Our Future. That's the largest COVID fraud ever. These criminals opened more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, and sites lied, claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. They created fake attendance rosters, fake invoices, and the government reimbursed them. David Gaither, he's a former state senator here. He saw this firsthand.
Rich, this is the Safari restaurant in downtown Minneapolis. This is the epicenter of some of the biggest fraud and waste and abuse in this area. The owner right now is currently in jail, federal jail. This restaurant, which seats about 35, supposedly served 18,000 plus meals a day.
A day?
A day for 7 months. 18,000 plus.
Now, Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar, she was a fixture at this restaurant, the Safari, during her run for office. I think we have a photo of her at the restaurant with her supporters in 2018. Feeding Our Future, that's that corrupt nonprofit. It was the epicenter of it, but others spawned from it. There were home relocation services, child autism. They were bilking $399 million in services fraud in 2023 alone. To date, 86 people have been indicted and counting. Federal authorities tell News Nation 79 of them are of Somali descent.
All right, we're going to skip ahead because I'm running out of time. We're going to hear what the little scumbag Ilhan Omar had to say, because Trump took a direct shot at her.
Assalamu alaikum, صباح ونكسن. I am really delighted to see so many incredible leaders.
Blah, blah, blah.
So much of our community here. I want to start with a gratitude by thanking the Minnesota Democratic delegation.
Traitor.
Senator Amy Klobuchar, Senator Tina Smith.
Whatever. I don't have time for you to be stuck in this.
Lieutenant Governor Patty Flanagan, Attorney General, or faith leaders. I think I want to speak to a few things. One, I want to speak to what Trump has tweeted and what it means for those of us who call this incredible state home. Because facts matter and facts are important. It is unfortunate that we are led by a president who does not understand the laws of this land.
Really?
When the president tweets as if he has the authority to terminate temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota, even little kids in 8th grade.
You see what I'm saying? See how stupid this freaking terrorist scammer is? She really thinks that the president doesn't have the power to terminate TPS status of illegals. This chick is stupid. This chick is stupid.
Know that that is not an authority that the president has.
Yes, he does. Look at these idiots clapping. And you all work in government. You need to take a civics class.
For Somalis expires March of 2026. And anyone with that status has 60 days after for it to have any impact on them.
Not anymore.
And so if you are confused, if you feel threatened, know that the law is on your side and our demented president can't do anything about it.
This chick is stupid. She is dumb. She is very dumb.
The other unlawful thing that our lawless president
Lawless
is claiming
president.
to do so is to terminate that.
You're up here stealing billions of dollars in tax funds, but the president is lawless. Okay.
That status for only one state, which he has no authority to do so. So,
give it time.
For the 300 or so people that are impacted, that currently live in Minnesota and across the country, we see you and we stand with you, and we will make sure we do everything that we can to help make sure that your status is adjusted before March of 2026.
It's going to be sooner than that.
Because
Jammer.
you know and I know that there is nothing temporary about people's lives here in the United States.
Oh, yes, there is.
Many of these people that we are talking about have built lives.
Too
They
bad.
own homes, they own businesses.
Too bad.
They are a vibrant part of our communities.
Not anymore.
And we want to make sure that their new home stays their forever home.
Well, it won't. Because of
The
you.
second thing I want to speak to is that in this country, we do not blame the lawlessness of an individual on a whole community.
She is clearly new here. She is clearly new here. Ask any black person. If one black person commit a crime and it's on the news, do we all get side-eyed? Don't we all get side-eyed? Especially if you dress a certain way. If you dress like the Crickable, you get side-eyed. They follow you in the store. Sir, can I help you? You must be new here. Oh my God, she is funny.
Because if you believe in law and order, you understand that if a person commits a crime, they face justice. And that you don't put that crime on a whole community. What we also know
Sure you don't.
is that there is not a single evidence that the
Not a
president
single evidence?
or his coonies have put forth that there are any single resource from taxpayers in Minnesota that has gone to aid and abate terrorism.
Well, then why are there people in prison? Why do people get convicted?
That language is dangerous. That language puts the lives of Somalis, not only in Minnesota, but across the country in danger.
And whose fault is that?
And if the president believed that and he had evidence, he would take people to court.
He did.
So we are sick
You're next.
and tired of
You
the
and Tim
president
Wall.
waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities, while the ignorant
Like
people
you?
that support him
Like you?
then take the lies that he's spreading
Where's
and
the lie?
use it as a fact.
Where's the lie, though?
We've seen it during the campaign.
Where's the
When he
lie,
said
though?
Haitians we're eating cats and dogs.
Do understand there's photos, there are neighbor people, because they tried to suppress the news there in Ohio, but there's a video of a guy, he grabbed a goose out of the pond. You know how you have an apartment complex and you have the geese that like to congregate? Yeah, he snatched one of the geese. You had one guy, he said his cat disappeared. He said the next day he looked over his Somalian neighbor's fence and the cat was skinned, hanging up to dry. That's where that story came from.
He's seen his vice president repeat those lies. We've seen the media run it as a headline as if it was a fact.
Because it was.
That is shameful. That is shameful. That is ignorant. It makes us look like a stupid nation.
You are
not
a stupid nation.
Truth, but traffics in lies.
You're a nation filled with pirate scammers. Somalia. That's where all the pirating goes on with all of the cargo ships. The U.S. Navy has had to blow your fucking country, half your country, to hell, to smithereens, because of the pirates, the terrorist organization that's out there terrorizing international waters outside of Somalia.
It makes the world mock us, and we are better than that. We are better than that as Americans.
You're not better than us.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation.
Yes, you
We
are.
helping it thrive.
How?
Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation.
You know how we talk about the very bottom of the economic ladder? I'm gonna let her cook. Well, I'm gonna let her think she cooking, but I'm gonna look it up.
We have signed up to serve this country in its military. We have signed up to teach children. We have signed up to become nurses and doctors and engineers. We have signed up to be public servants and get elected into office. We don't do that because we hate this nation. We do that because we love this nation.
Because you're thieves. So apparently, this is what it says here. I asked, where do Somalians rank? God damn it. Where do Somalians rank in economic growth in the USA? Somali immigrants in the U.S. rank relatively low in economic growth compared to other immigrant groups, with median incomes and employment rates below national averages. They are positioned around the lower third of immigrant communities in terms of socioeconomic indicators. Somali immigrants in the U.S. hold a social rating of 238th out of 347th immigrant groups tracked, placing them in the lower tier of economic growth ratings. Median female earnings, $37,000. Per capita income, $39,000. Household income shows a significant wage gap compared to national averages. Somali immigrants face higher unemployment rates than the U.S. average. Poverty rates remain elevated, reflecting challenges in labor market integration because they're morons. Participation in improving, but still lags behind other immigrant groups, partly due to barriers such as language acquisition and credential recognition. In other words, they can't fucking read. Look at this. Large Somali American communities exist in Minnesota, especially Minneapolis, St. Paul, Ohio, and Washington State. These hubs have strong cultural networks, but also highlight disparities in employment and income. Recent changes in immigration protections, the TPS, have created uncertainty affecting economic stability. In other words, these people are morons. They are inbred morons. Why she's sitting up here talking crap about, oh, we're this, we're that. What's up, Greg? Look, I'm done because I'm at the 2-hour mark. My brother, stop hating on the Somalis. Tell them to stop stealing my tax dollars. With that, I'll catch y'all later because I'm at my 2-hour mark. Peace out.
Now, gentlemen, Mr. Butler's been up north, I hear. Don't you agree with this, Mr. Butler? I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen.
What do you mean, sir?
I mean, Mr. Hamilton, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South.
What difference does that make, son, to a gentleman?
I'm afraid it's going to make a great deal of difference to a great many gentlemen, sir.
Are you hinting, Mr. Butler, that the Yankees can lick us?
No, I'm not hinting. I'm saying very plainly that the Yankees are better equipped than we. They've got factories, shipyards, coal mines, and a fleet to bottle up our harbors and starve us to death. All we've got is cotton and slaves and arrogance. That's treachery!
I have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Right, bye! Thanks for the fun!
Get the fuck out!